something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
Well, g'day folks, how are you? Hope you're doing all right this fine Thursday, I've got to say it is. What is it? It's the 21st, isn't it? So, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a Thursday. Don't know if you can hear the chorus outside at the moment being sung off as the sun is going down. There is a whole bunch of lorikeets decided to rest in the gum tree that's up beside me. So, isn't that fun? I don't know if you can hear it or not, but that high-pitched squealing that they make, chirping, the noise that they make is very high-pitched. Not real good with high-pitched sounds, unfortunately. But there you go. We live and learn. Not very good at walking around either, so got to live and learn with these things. Thank you to those folks who've sent emails regarding my health. My health, other than the arm, is doing pretty well. The banging that I gave it the other day probably wasn't the smartest thing I could have done. However, I have to say, and I've used myself here as a bit of a test dummy in the case of comfrey oil and X39 patches. Now, the comfrey oil, God love it, have it right here, have more just here, because I'm very good at knocking it over. The comfrey oil I'm putting on just drops at different times every day, or well, twice a day, and rubbing it in a little bit goes a long way. So I've been bathing in it practically. That's probably not quite right, but I've been giving it a fairly good slathering, and I honestly, in the last 2 days, have noticed a very big difference in how the whole thing feels generally. I'm able to rotate it, not a great deal, but that's more because of the restriction of this than any pain I'm feeling. The biggest problem I'm having is doing that, because my hand has basically been like that for so long. I can get that sort of movement out at the moment, and I can close my fist nearly. But that's just a bit of physio work I'll have to keep working on. And thankfully, this Exos thing allows me to take it off a couple of times a day and give it a bloody good scratch as well. So I have no need of knitting needles or those sorts of things, because if it starts itching, it's very simple to pop off. And I mean the Exos thing, pop it off, give your arm a good scratch, and put it all back on again. Got to be a little bit careful putting it on. You want to be very dexterous with one hand, obviously, and fairly strong, because these things really get quite hard. And while it does peel apart here at the top, it sort of springs back. It's molded to your arm and or the shape of your arm. So you've got to be able to hold apart that particularly touchy bit that happens on your wrist as you sort of put it in. And thankfully I've been able to, touch wood, negotiate that without too much damage to myself. So I really believe the comfrey oil has made a significant difference in how fast the bone is healing. And I think, I know that the X39 patches, which initially I must say I may have nearly OD'd on, have made a huge difference. The bruising that I was told to expect never eventuated. I got a very small amount of bruising on the inside of my arm, and when I say small, it was yellow, but only a strip, about 25 mil wide, and only for maybe, 200 mil down my arm. So we should be talking in inches, I know. So an inch wide, 4 inches long. And there was not a great, well, there was very little, if any, pain out of the bruise itself. There were other areas where pain came out later around my thumb and back into where it sort of joins back on your wrist. I was told to expect bruising basically from to the tips of my fingers and up past here on my arm. And in places it would go black. Well, the only bruising I had was the slight yellowing here around where the damage or the main damage happened. And I put that down to the X39s, which I had two of on, one on either position where I knew where the first two brakes, where I was told there were two, where the first two brakes were, but they're the two major ones. There are a number of others. I've also found this really useful because while my brakes are along the bone, not across the bone, if I can squeeze the bone together, the harder I can squeeze that together, the faster it will mend. And this allows me to apply pressure where I really want it, where it's comfortable. And if it gets too uncomfortable, to undo it, it's simply a matter of popping and pulling a little cord out. And for those of you who've been skiing, I believe snow boots these days have a similar mechanism. I remember there when I was a kid, or maybe I was an adult working in radio who couldn't afford them. There was a shoemaker, I can't remember who had something similar, laceless shoes, and you just twist this little knob, which I'm not sure you can see. And somebody asked me the other day, oh, how do you get that all back together again if you've let that? So this is what allows me to open the whole thing up. So I can force my hand in here and there and pull my hand out. So this, oh, didn't mean this to be a demonstration. This tightens everything. It's a little, I don't know if you can see it around my thumb. And these are nylon straps that are threaded through this whole thing. How do I do it one-handed? If I let that go, it's all going to bunch up and curl up. So I wrap it around and hold it against myself, push the little knob in, and you can't sort of see it, but I'm going to twist. And what it's doing, now I've got it over this side, move my arm a bit, twist a bit more. Now I've got it pretty close. I can now massage this whole thing to where I want it to be tight. And then just keep turning this, pull this little gadget, which will make it tight again. And there you go. That's locked off, and now the whole thing's nice and tight. So sorry for the lesson. You probably didn't really need that, but it's been a long day. I'm sorry this week has been a bit higgledy-piggledy with shows and times. There is a big meeting happening here this weekend. All the owners coming together for what is a regular meeting that sort of happens for the owners. And the property we've had to do a few things for a few owners and get a lot of things sorted. And it's been a lot of last-minute organisation and a lot of trips to places that we sort of weren't expecting to have to go. Last night being one of those, and we had to travel about a bit over an hour south, and we wound up having to pick something up, not just at Bunnings. Never turn up at Bunnings when you need the trade entrance after 5 o'clock. They're closed. Doesn't that make it fun? That's where I did the show from last night, and I didn't show you where we were, but I'm sure you've all been inside one of those big Bunnings trade entrances where you can drive your car and trailer in. Well, I was driving a Toyota Prado towing our car trailer, and that put me at somewhere about nearly 14 metres, and they only had one door open, and they had to open that to let me in. And it was a slalom course to get me to drive through it, and then they were expecting me to back out of it, which ordinarily I would have taken up the challenge, but I'd like to have both arms to do that with. So instead, I took a greater challenge and wound up having to drive around inside this joint, trying to back this trailer down one aisle and up another one and around another one and then back down the first one and then drive out the way we came. Anyway, Then we had to drive another hour south to pick something else up. And by the time we got home last night, I thought it wasn't really worthwhile having a bit of a chat with you guys, because if you're anything like me, you would have gone to bed already. Yes, apologies for all that. And tomorrow night might be a little bit weird too, just because we've got a lot of arrivals on the property and I've got a few little jobs that I've got to do. Hopefully, all of that will be over and done with by our normal show time of 6:30, but we shall see what happens. Speaking of what happens, I just want to there is a great song that is playing underneath this, but if I were to play it, this whole show would probably be kicked off, and I'd certainly be kicked by YouTube for an copyright infringement. It has a song behind it, which I urge you to have a listen to, and I will send this to Vince and ask him to put it on our website, or a link to it at the very least. I've only got it as a downloaded file, but hopefully that'll be up on our website in the not too distant future, and have a listen to it. There's a Leonard Cohen song that's playing underneath it called Everybody Knows, and if you don't know that song, it's very apt for the vision you are looking at. And the vision that you are looking at is the list, or the faces of a number of media people in this world, in Australia, who are allegedly responsible for a great many crimes. We obviously await with great anticipation the outcome of anything that's going on with Alan Jones at the moment. But there are a lot more people that you might hear things about. Some of them will be passed away already. Sadly, a great number of them. Not sadly that they've passed away, sadly that they got away with these crimes and won't face justice for them. However, this is all to be proven yet, but you'll notice that many, if not all, the faces are familiar to you in some way, shape, or form. And you will have heard stories about them in one way, shape, or form. And it isn't maybe until we look at them back to back, we get a bit of an idea of the totality of the evil that we are seeing. This thing goes on for quite some time, but it's well, if you like Leonard Cohen music, you'll enjoy having a little bit of a look at that. I'll get Vince to put it up on the website. I've just got to figure out a way to get it to him. Here is some interesting news of the day. World War III on the way. The US has been accused of stoking the flames, so to speak. There has also been reports in the last, half a day or so that the UK have bombed or used some of their missile systems to be used to bomb inside Russia. I'm not sure if that's confirmed. There has also been talk of a small amount of Russian retaliation by way of artillery, not nuclear. However, Vladimir Putin has changed the nuclear protocol in Russia and has definitely made it much easier for his nuclear forces to move to a higher state of readiness, and I suspect target NATO, obviously, because it is NATO, in fact, who are just pulling the strings of the puppet Zelensky as they go through. I did say tonight was going to be short and sweet. That's because I've got a prior appointment I've got to get to. But I did see something today that surprised the shit out of me. And I thought it may surprise the shit out of you too. I am not known as a Sarah Hanson Young fan in any way, shape or form. But this just about has to be the smartest thing I've ever heard come out of her head. Doesn't mean I'd support her and listen closely to what she says. But in the main, what she's saying is, well, I'm really surprised she's saying it.
Well, the stitch up is in, isn't it? The two big parties, desperate for distraction, desperate to get something done in this space so quickly before anybody looks at the detail, before they've worked out they've got no answers to the real questions. They want to smash this bill that kicks young people off the internet before Christmas. Smash it through the parliament, a fake inquiry of only 5 days. Only 5 days. What a joke. Have the courage of your convictions to put forward legislation and to have it scrutinised properly. And why are they smashing this through so quickly? Why do they want anyone to look at the details and to ask the hard questions? Because their very own joint social media inquiry report, handed down only on Monday this week, didn't recommend this as a measure. In fact, it was the exact opposite. All of the experts have said that if you want to protect young people online, you have to make these platforms safer, you have to regulate them properly, you have to put in place guardrails, you have to work with parents to make sure their needs and their children's needs are being met. But you are desperate to get a distraction because nothing else is getting through this parliament this fortnight. Your mis- and disinformation bill is a bloody bin fire. That's what's going on. This is a distraction because you haven't even been able to run the argument on your own response to mis- and disinformation. And so you ram this through as a big distraction. And it's not very often, I must say, that I agree with Senator Canavan. But on this particular issue, on social media, I agree that this should not be rammed through. This should not be put through with such a complex issue without proper review and proper scrutiny. But of course, we know what's going on here. The government's desperate for a distraction because of the mis- and disinformation bill bin fire, and the opposition are split on the issue of social media. So Mr Dutton wants this done as quickly as possible before anyone realises that he can't keep his own team in the tent. That is what is going on here. That is what's going on. And we're about to see it all over again on the next bill, and that's, of course, the electoral reform legislation, another stitch-up. When the two big parties decide to get together and ram stuff through in this place, you know they are failing the public debate. They are always failing the public debate when they want to ram stuff through, no real inquiry, no review, no scrutiny, because they've got no bloody answers.
First smart thing I've ever heard come out of that woman's mouth. Got to agree with that. Definitely got to agree with that. So, Sarah Hanson-Young, hat off, tip of the head, you've done well. Can you back it up? It sounds to me like you're hedging your bets there a bit. You just want to have a little bit more time to look at it before you agree to it. But at least it sounds at this point in time like you're not going to agree to it. There is a couple of other points that she raises in there about the mis- and disinformation bill and, of course, the electoral reform bill, which I'd forgotten all about. Now, that is something that you should be ringing every one of your representatives or emailing them about and telling them, particularly Labor and Liberal, because they're, you know, if they're divided, as she says, then you've got to let your local Liberal and Labor representative know that your vote is contingent upon them voting no for this sort of change, this sort of bullshit. And you'll be able to tell who votes who. They're not secret ballots. So something to be considered. All right, folks, got to run. Tomorrow there will be probably a show or two coming off on the VOF channel on YouTube straight off my phone because I've got a few things I probably might be able to share with you tomorrow, but I won't be sitting here to share them. So keep an eye out on the VOF channel, and Vince, I'll ask you if you are available to flick them up onto Rumble at the appropriate time as well. I've got to hit the road, folks. Going to try and avoid the dickheads, but need to be at another meeting. So have yourself a good night tonight. I'm sorry it's so short. We will get together at some stage over the weekend, I'm hoping. And I might have a new friend to come and have a talk about communal living and, well, a few other aspects of the freedom movement and maybe a potential other way forward. We'll have a little bit of a chat and see whether or not I can't arrange a sit around a campfire over the weekend, and we'll bring something special to you for there. Be safe on the roads, folks. Watch out for the dickheads.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up.
Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life.
It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
Let's rock!